Ganga. I'm
Hi.
so pleased and so proud to welcome you to my third podcast. I can't believe this is picking up so quickly. And we were just chatting only a moment ago how our world can fall apart. And when our world falls apart, it's not pretty. It gets messy. It gets dirty. So this Slaying the Dragon podcast is all about being raw, wild, and real. Is that okay with you? It's
Bringing it
unedited.
on.
Everything you say comes forward.
Yep.
Let's
Raw, wild,
start with
and
your
real.
name. Let's just start with your name. Ganga Karen Ashworth. Welcome to Slaying the Dragon.
Thank you, Elizabeth. It's a privilege to be here and great to be speaking with you.
Thank you. Tell me about your name, Ganga. How did you get your name? That's the first probably point of change in your life, isn't it? When you decided to step into a power that you don't even realize was as powerful as you expected it to be at the time.
So it was probably, I was uncomfortable with my given name, Karen, and that's since become, an insult almost. Oh, she's such a Karen. But the name actually is a Dutch derivative of the name Catherine, which means pure. So it has, for me, beauty to it. And then, but it never quite sat right for me. And then I was training in a yoga tradition, and went to India and asked for a name, for a spiritual name. And when I was actually pregnant with my son, he'll be 19 next month. So it's been a long journey. And the name he gave me was Ganga. And Ganga is actually the goddess that formed the river Ganges in India. So the story is that she was wanting to come to earth to cleanse the sins, the misdoings of humanity, and as a flow, as a river, and knew that there was so much power and strength in that it could wipe out more than she intended. So in the Hindu tradition where it comes from, Lord Shiva, the Shiva, the Lord of the dance, I think, decided to allow the Ganga to be to pass through his tresses, through his dreadlocks, and that to be mediated and her flow to be slowed down, so it was more able to be accepted by and be a nourishing source like the river Ganges is now. Beautiful. So that's,
and you do that through your voice.
Thank you.
Singing the self. How do you feel about the relationship now of you going with the flow and bringing healing and purity and cleansing through your beautiful voice? So the river Ganges, it's a perfect name for you, Ganga. But having said that, you're now coming to a different time in your life, and your world has changed drastically since you chose that name. Yeah. Would you like to tell us just one story, if you like, on how your world was just going along, you thought perfectly, until you saw the first signs that you were questioning your own happiness or your own self-worth? What did that look like for you?
Yeah, I wish it was gentle like you describe.
Life is not gentle when our world falls apart. That's what this is all about.
Like, just noticing the signs would have been great. And to be honest, there were parts of that in my marriage where I was noticing the signs of feeling uncomfortable, feeling unhappy, and not knowing what to do about it because of that commitment to family. I want us to be a family. I have children. We have children together. That's the most important value that so many of us, and I see it a lot with the women that I work with as well, that's the highest value that they hold. So it's really hard to let go of that. So I was in that struggle for a long time.
How long were you in that struggle for before you left?
Probably about 5 years.
Wow. And how did you lose yourself? Did you notice that you were losing yourself as a result of that? Or did you take action at that point to start finding pieces of your soul purpose to try to come back to you, to yourself? What was the process in that time?
Yeah, so it was both and, I had lost myself to the point where I didn't realize. that I had lost myself.
Yeah.
And others could see it, and they're like, no, that you're not who you are. And this confident, vivacious, outgoing person has, changed, and she's much more, you might be much more quiet and reserved and nervous about things and anxious about things, and that's not the person that we know. And so they could see it, but I couldn't see it.
You can't see the woods for the trees, can you?
So true.
A fish can't see the water it swims in.
Very
true. So how did you start to see the signs yourself? What were those signs that you started to see for yourself?
It was how I felt about the
good.
relationship, and I was like, oh God, but I can't feel that. That's too wrong. I'm not allowed to feel that. And as I allowed myself to feel it and realize, this is not okay with me, and I need to attend to how I feel.
Okay, good.
Not make it okay make it okay for him, not make it okay for the children, but actually make it okay for me.
Yeah.
And
that's a big statement. That's a powerful, coming home to yourself is a powerful place to begin our journey, isn't it? Back home to self, back home to soul. Yeah. And so what was the first step you took to come back home to soul?
Interestingly, a part of that journey was retraining in counselling and psychotherapy.
Oh, perfect. Isn't that a great place to start? And I think all of the wounded healers, we have our wounds, and in search for the answers and the healing, we study, we want to learn why and how and what to bring healing to ourselves. And it comes to us, through us, and from us, doesn't it? So you began the journey of your own self-care and your own self-nurture, your own healing journey. And in doing that, what did that bring towards you?
A lot more self-awareness. That was part of the process. I trained at Metavision Institute, and the approach, or the
where are they located?
They're located in Bowral, and work internationally. So there are people that attend online, or I've actually met international students that have come in person. And
did you have a particular mentor with Metavision?
So the principal, I guess, I don't know what her title is Christina Nielsen. Okay, and great. She's
just a point of contact if anyone needs to reach out, if they feel a connection to this.
Dear friend, and wonderful process worker, and I would call her a visionary.
Fantastic.
So I worked with Metavision bringing voice work, which is so important when you're working with your voice and working with clients. So I worked there for 9 years before I actually did the course.
Oh, really? Wow, that's wonderful.
So and so immersing in that, and part of the process of that course is a requirement to have your own therapist, your own someone that's supporting you in that psychotherapeutic approach. And like that's where I really was able to do a lot of that work, and come up against, time after time, the relational aspects of my marriage would come up in processes, and I'd be able to see what was going on, and yet then I'd go back into the marriage, and it was like I'd not that I'd left, but I'd go back, into the home, and I'd get all confused again, and feel like, oh, but maybe this is, and maybe I should, and maybe it is just me, and all of those, it's all my fault, and it's something wrong with me, and all those things. And then I'd go and do more inner work and get that clarity, and then come back with this process of toing and froing and confusion. And then it all got really messy once we decided to separate, and I actually moved out of the home 6 months later. And at that time, it all hit. So my car was written off as I was parked outside where I was, my private practice.
So you weren't in it, thank goodness.
I wasn't in it. No one was injured, but it was written off.
Yeah.
And it had just been all redone after having hail damage. So it was beautiful. And it was just written off. So that happened. Then we had, my back went out and I was out off work. I couldn't sit to work with clients. I had a bulging disc that was just excruciating. And in that process, my mum got really sick. And so I was traveling backwards and forwards to Sydney to visit her. And my mum actually ended up dying in that process.
I'm sorry.
So that happened. In the process, I'm creating, doing divorce papers and writing
so much trauma on every level.
Yeah. And getting a new job because I needed to have an income.
And so you put the mask on deliberately at that point to hide your emotional world behind a confident, gorgeous Ganga so that financially you could feed your family.
Yeah.
How did that mask fit on you? How did you carry that mask? How did that mask make you feel?
I was actually speaking about it with a client the other day, with a friend, colleague, that it was actually a bit of a lifeline for me working with others.
Interesting. So act as if you've already got it, so you could pretend.
I didn't have to pretend I had it all together. I could just be fully present for someone else. And so I was there with them and for them and forgot about what was going on for me.
Beautiful.
It was such a blessing. Yeah.
Fantastic. And you know, I think I can totally relate to that myself in different times in our life where, you know, I think people think that as a healer, we've got it all together, but life still happens to us and life has to keep going on.
Yeah, that's it.
And how did you navigate that for yourself?
How did I navigate life has to keep
What was your
going
coping skills for yourself? What did you do for your own self-care?
Oh, yeah. And that's a really good question because I didn't for the longest time. I just kept pushing and pushing, and the anxiety grew and grew. And managing, you know, there were challenges for my son was doing his HSC, and before that, as a result of this separation, had, you know, mental health issues. My daughter had mental health issues. I was like, you know, there for everyone else. I had to be there for everyone else. And I wasn't sleeping well. I wasn't, I was in a constant state of anxiety, and I tried everything. I tried, you know, homeopathics. I proved the remedy every time. So anything that was given to relieve anxiety actually increased it for me. And anything that I tried just actually upped it. And I got to the point where I actually had a panic attack.
Which means you're actually reverse wired.
Yeah,
so you need a coffee to calm down, or you know, you need.
Oh no, that one doesn't work for me. No,
coffee that wires you up.
Yeah. I remember doing a 4-person musical, so there was only 4 of us in this tiny little theatre, and I was banned from having coffee at rehearsals for that reason. It's like, we've got to scrape you off the walls. No, too much energy. But yeah, it was. It took to getting to that point. And I went, okay, I've got to do something different. And, you know, it's something I've known about and dabbled in, but not really committed to in my life, was the thing that made the difference, which was actually meditation.
Fantastic. Wow, what a surprise.
I know.
Fancy calming the mind down. And how did you do that with such a wide mind? How did you go into a meditation experience that worked for you?
So there were
what was your favorite meditation?
I'm finding mindfulness. And for me, it had been the only way I'd been able to access up until then was sounding, was to actually sound with my voice. So I use a mantra or a sound, but even the mantras, like I was at such a heightened state. I just rejected all of it, all of the spirituality. Don't even talk to me about that woo-woo. I don't want to use that spooky language. I don't want to, you know, use mantras. I just shut it all out because everything was too much. And then actually,
what were some of the mindfulness techniques that worked for you?
So it's actually having someone speak that meditation to me. So I'm not having to do it with my own mind.
You felt supported.
So using, listening to podcasts or meditation. So Tara Brach is a favorite mindfulness meditation teacher of mine.
Fantastic.
And I like her voice.
And for those looking for Tara Brach, how would you spell? Tara?
Yeah, BRACH.
ACH. Yeah. Fantastic. So that's great. .com.
Yeah.
Okay, I think it's always good to have links to other people that go out wider than us. I think we are the ripple effect in our world, and we're never alone, even when we feel that we can't do it on our own anymore, but we don't want to ask for help because we have the shame factor playing out big time. So the podcasts or the meditation, it keeps us to be anonymous, I suppose, in a safe place. It cocoons us, it holds us. How did that work for you?
Well, it was, I actually immersed myself. I did a 2-week silent meditation retreat virtually, because the whole lockdown was part of what. Yeah, I did it at home. Yeah. And with a teacher that was based in the US, so the time zones didn't always align, but we managed to work with that, and that just committing to that made a huge difference. And the actual practice of being present, being in silence. So it was a combination of guided meditations and actual, sitting silently for, 40 minutes at a time, 20-minute break back into meditation. And that reset something in me, so that there was a need to, it was I would say a need and a desire, that's the word I'm after, to actually have that in my life every day. So for the first time, I've actually got a daily practice that's not negotiable.
And do you still keep that up?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's what I mean. It's a daily practice.
And who did you do that through? You signed up for that? Was that a commitment that you signed up for?
Yeah, it was a big. I
think that's a good thing, isn't it? To sign up and pay in advance for something makes you own it, makes you really holds your energy. It creates a safe container, doesn't it?
And more than I'd ever paid for anything in my life. Wow. And I just went, yep, I'm worth it. Yeah.
I'm worth it, and I need this.
Yeah.
Good job. And who was that with?
Rachel Jane Groover, her name is.
Okay, I know
Rachel Jane's her first name. Groover, just like it sounds, with a double O, V-E-R. And it's the Awakened School. And she works here in Australia. But with COVID, that was a bit more difficult. So it's also based in the US. And it was unwavering certainty.
Wow, that's huge. Unwavering certainty.
Unwavering certainty. I went, I want that.
Wow. And that was a feeling, that gut feeling again that you get. You just knew that this was right for you. Absolutely. And how long did this certainty continue for? How long did the commitment continue?
The certainty wavers, but it's supported by the commitment.
Okay, so good.
When I show up daily for meditation.
So you can question yourself, but you still keep doing it.
Mm-hmm.
That's discipline then, isn't it? When you feel like, wow, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? But because you've made the commitment, it makes you keep going.
And I've tried it out. I'm too busy this morning. I'll just get into my day.
Oh, we can sabotage ourselves, can't we?
Oh, yeah. We know that well. And then my day gets messy. Yep. Or I'm exhausted, or, I can't think clearly. And so, or something, all the dramas happen and you're like thrown off balance. So I go, okay, that's right. I need this for me to be able to navigate my day.
To come back home to the most important person in the whole world, and that was you.
And it doesn't have to be, I wake up half an hour before I need to, so that I've got that time. But sometimes there's other things that call my attention in that time that are required. I've got to send emails or, whatever we have to do.
Again, more sabotage, more distraction.
There's always time for that meditation.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And where are you at now in your life?
That's a very good question. So
a lot's happened. A lot has changed.
Yeah.
You've moved house. I've moved
house. Yeah, that was a big thing. So the thing that allowed me to move out of the family home was that I found a house sit for 4 months.
Oh,
so I was
perfect. Isn't that great?
So I was completely supported that I didn't actually have to have the finances, and that's when my back went. So I didn't have the finances if I wanted to.
Fantastic. The universe brings to us in amazing ways sometimes, doesn't it?
And it ended up being that myself and my children were living there for 2.5 years. So we ended up paying rent after a time, but it was also subsidised because we were still caring for the pets. So it was a reduced rent rather than subsidised.
Great.
And that was such a cocoon. It was such a safe place for me that I could return to. And so when the owner was moving back home to their home, I was like, oh no, I've got to leave my cocoon and I've got to find somewhere to live and I've got to decide where that is. And
Panic starts happening again.
And again, and what about this one? What about this one? And the children, and how do I manage all of that? And then I just went, no, I actually just need to decide for me. Where I need to be right now is near the water.
Ah, fantastic.
I need to be able to see water. I can see water if I look to my right now. And that's calming for me. I need that. And so I chose for me, and it has ended up being less of a commute to my workplace in my day job, which is working in counselling with mostly specialising in domestic and family violence in Campbelltown area. And, it's where I need to be. And it's ended up being that my son came to university in the Wollongong area, went to University of Wollongong, so he's living with me. My daughter is moved to this area, so I'm right here with them anyway.
So it's all fallen together.
Yeah,
better than you could have planned.
Than if I'd planned it. Yeah,
that's right.
But I had to choose for me.
I think sometimes we just have to allow, don't we, space. I think it's in the allowing and the acceptance we start coming back home, and the energy start falling together rather than apart.
Yes. Yeah. So acting team leader in my role at work, and have a private practice here locally and working with people online.
So you're still seeing private clients with psychotherapy with your singing?
Yes.
The voice.
I call it sound psychotherapy.
Oh, beautiful. I like that. Fantastic.
So it's not only about singing, and it's not always about sound, even sounding. It can be, what are the blockages? What are the things in the way? What are the beliefs we have? What are the patterns? What's actually contained within us energetically that we're not even aware of, that we can connect with? And sometimes the sound is a way to shake that loose and release it. It's not the only modality, but so that's what I love about sound psychotherapy, because the other connotation of the word, the other meaning is that it's sound, it's solid, it's true, it'll hold
and
you.
it can bring up a self-consciousness as well, and I can't allow myself to be heard because I've never been heard. So what happens if I start using my voice? And it creates a challenge, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, and especially if it's been safer not to be heard.
Yeah.
It can be,
or saying things that we know people want to hear rather than our truth.
Oh yeah, and saying things that out of fear of saying the wrong thing.
That's right. And that brings in a judgment then, doesn't it? And our own self-judgment.
So we edit it and judge it before it even comes out of our face.
That's right.
Yeah. So
how do you deal with that, with yourself first and foremost?
First, for me, it's
because you've gone through this journey of you owning your own self and singing to yourself. Did you do this practice yourself?
That was a lot of the learning, and that's been a process over more years than this, upheaval, my life falling apart, but realizing that when I sing, it's, it was always about other people, and the sound, certainly when I trained it.
And putting your energies towards other people is a safe place for you to be.
Yeah.
Now.
And it's a safe place for many of us, because that's what we're taught, certainly as women, but, many people, that, we give to others. It's selfish actually to do things for yourselves. And I realized that it was depleting me. I was getting sick a lot. Energetically, I was getting exhausted from singing, and I realized that it was because I was giving everything to the process, everyone else.
You're emptying out rather than filling up.
And not filling up.
Yeah.
And so I started experimenting with, can I give to myself at the same time? Can I receive this sound as well as giving it? And that's when it started to change for me. And, you know, for my clients as well, with me having that realization that it's like, yeah, we can, when the focus is in here and not out here where the vulnerable place is about,
That's right.
once it's out of my face, I
All the
can't,
fear.
it's full of fear because
That's
I can't change it and I can't erase it, and it's
right.
unprotected. It's vulnerable to other people's opinions and judgments. It's so risky to let our voice out in that way. Whereas if we're actually here with, what do I experience from this sound? And what do I get when I, ooh, oh, wow, that fills my heart, you know? So giving.
Would you like to take us through just something small for the people watching that may be feeling vulnerable, that they need to come home to themselves and nurture themselves, bring themselves back into their own little cocoon? How would you create that space?
Oh, many ways. Sometimes it's a visual, like what would make me feel cocooned? You know, would it be wrapping a doona around myself, or imagining an actual, you know, spun silk cocoon? So that sense of containment can be really helpful. Some people that can feel claustrophobic, so it's really individual.
What do you need? Yeah, to ask the question, rather than trying to fix the person or rescue the person, to actually walk beside that person and say, what do you need? What do you need for you? What do you need to bring towards you? And some people are overwhelmed and don't know where to start and don't know what they need. What would you suggest in that space?
So I make suggestions about, well, would it be something like this, or would it be something like I've just said to you? Would it be, you know, wrapping yourself up in a invisibility?
Can we just try that now? Do you think? Would you take us through maybe a couple of different examples so people can feel what it feels like rather than trying to imagine it? Would you like to share that? I know that's putting a vulnerable pressure on you.
No, I'm open to that. I'm happy to share things that I've spoken of, examples I've given in the past. So, and some clients have, well, I'll change them a little bit. They're not personal to them, but they're visuals. So some people imagine like a cone of silence, almost like a dome over them. It could be perspex, it could be clear, it could be bulletproof glass. So having that sense of, you know, a big,
and maybe it could be both, all three at different times, interspersing with, you know, from second to second even.
Yeah.
I don't think our energies are always stable enough to vision something staying the same, especially when we're in a vulnerable place.
So some people imagine standing in a column of light.
Beautiful.
And feeling that. And sometimes there's a sound or a resonance associated with that. So in that column of light, what is it? What's the sound? What's the resonance that feels, that you feel from that feels safe, that feels contained and protected? And as I picture that now, there's a that's what that light feels like to me.
And we could ask 100 people around us, what does that feel like to you? And we will get 100 different responses.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's the beauty of it as well, isn't it? That
so unique.
It's a personal experience.
It's what's true for you. Yeah. It's very personal, very unique.
And to cocoon yourself in a beautiful, like, doona day and snuggle up, what does that feel like and sound like? To bring your arms up over yourself and to hug yourself is often a beautiful place to start, isn't it?
Oh, so yeah. And, you know, it may be that sense of containment, like feeling it on your arms, or like
supporting yourself, loving yourself.
A butterfly hug, one person told me that they call it, and I just looked out the window and saw 2 butterflies as I saw that.
Perfect confirmation, isn't it?
Yeah. But so it can be actually that action, that tapping as well.
And to stroke
Take
it
it
down
away.
your arms and take it out
The
gently.
gentleness.
You can feel the energies shifting and moving. You could turn that into a rhythmic song and a dance. How would you do that?
Again, you know, I love to follow what happens for the person I'm working with. So
Yeah.
I don't like to direct it. There's lots of,
That's
you know,
okay.
so what
It's
would that,
organic and
is there a movement there? Does it feel
yeah,
like a
I feel
movement?
like I
And
want
it's
to
like,
just stroke it out and
yeah,
turn
yeah,
my
no,
hands
I don't
over
feel
and
like, I
yeah.
don't feel like there's a movement. Or actually, yeah, my body wants to kind of sway a bit. All right. So what's that like when your body sways? And is there a sound that comes with that swaying? Is it a bit like, so it doesn't have to be a
That's beautiful.
song or anything. There might be a song that comes to mind.
It almost sounds like the wind blowing.
Yeah. Yeah. So that might be your lullaby. It might
Yeah.
not be a whole song with words.
That's okay. It's whatever it is. I just wanted you to show a few ideas and little examples to other people. Do you have a favorite for you?
What's my go-to? Yeah. Yeah, I have a container. Do I have a favorite?
Can you tell us
so that
about that?
I can imagine around myself.
Would you share your container with us?
Yeah, sure.
Fantastic.
So it's egg-shaped and it's impenetrable. So it contains me completely. So initially it was kind of like a bubble. And that kind of went around me and zipped up at the sides. But now it's just it's a complete seamless container.
Beautiful.
That's egg shaped, and yeah, within it it's very resonant in here. You know, when I make sound, I go, oh, is that me? Do I sound like that? So it's such a supportive space, and that containment for the sound feels safe as well. That, you know, no one else is hearing that. That stays here with me.
There's
But even
freedom and safety in that, isn't there?
yeah, absolutely. And even if I'm walking through or into a new situation, and the anxiousness starts to kind of build in my body, or I have I'm going to speak to someone about things that are really personal. I don't know, whatever it is. And, even public speaking for a lot of people, that terror starts to rise. So I'll take that container into that situation.
Beautiful.
I'll imagine that first before I do anything, and reimagine it if I start to get wobbly.
Good.
Like, I'm here, I'm safe, I'm contained.
Fantastic. And from this safe place, I can now be authentic to myself. I have my own voice, my own message, my own tools and resources, and I'm here for a reason.
Yeah.
And we start to own that.
And thank you for saying that word, authentic. You know, that's really one of the things that's so powerful for me about working with people's voices. You know, often we can compare and go, I want my voice to sound like that, or my voice doesn't sound like that, so I'm not a singer, or, you know, judging and making ourselves less than on that basis. But that permission to have your own authentic voice, and that's when there's that resonance and power, when it's your truth, when the words you speak are your truth, when they're creating boundaries that support what you need, what your needs are, and the actual resonance. There's a presence in that sound when it's authentic. And I just dropped to that place of where I know my authenticity lives, and I heard this.
It's your truth.
The change in my voice
it's your
is
soul.
actually,
you're connecting to your soul in that point, aren't you? And when you're in that space, you're safe because it's your own point of light.
Yeah.
And we are unique. We shouldn't compare ourselves to anyone or anything outside of ourselves. And marketing companies and the mass media have made, they've had a field day capitalizing on our vulnerabilities, haven't they? And for us not to hear and not to listen to things outside of us when we're really programmed to get happiness from outside of ourselves. We will be happy when we get this, or we'll be happy when we do that. And when we buy this, we have the latest, things in our ears or the labels on our clothes, and go to the right places, and we put it all on social media to be seen doing and being absolutely perfect. And we compare ourselves to that. And the more we do that, the more we lose our soul, don't we? And we need to come back to our soul. How do you get people to come back to their soul, to their truth? Through all of the labels and, the labels of, the missus or someone's mother, or we lose our identity with all of the labels, don't we?
Yeah. And having done that myself, having lost my identity, I recognize it as a process.
Yeah.
So that safety, that containment is really important in that process. So is really sitting with all of it in meditation, in journaling, in silence.
Walking in nature, sitting on the beach and just watching the waves, gentle or ferocious, the clouds moving and forming patterns. It's like my favorite meditation is that Zen meditation in nature, just watching the leaves leave the tree. They don't have a story on why they're leaving the tree. They just no longer need to hold on.
Yeah.
Let go is a big issue, isn't it? And we make big stories out of that. But you watch the leaves leave the tree and there's freedom and lightness.
It's no big deal. That's it.
Nature, the changing cycles of nature.
And the sounds of nature.
Yes.
Just listening to all of those things that you described. The movement of the breeze right now is present for me. So that awareness, which then brings us, like they talk about it at Petrea King's Quest for Life Centre. I work there, have for 15 years now, and talking about coming to your senses. So actually having an awareness of the things that you can sense, that you can see, that you can touch, that you can taste, that you can hear, brings us into this moment.
Yeah, it's mindfulness, isn't it? But awareness is also the first stage of all healing. And if we don't have the awareness of actually what's happening, we're in illusion or delusion or fantasy. We have no idea what our reality is. And our mind can create a story and ruminates round and round and round. How do you get out of that rumination and come into quietness when the loud and the volume in our head is so loud? How do we find quietness in that space?
So, as I've said, for me, it's become meditation. I find also the sound that follows the sound, if that makes sense. The presence in the silence is a place
I like that.
I can access.
I really like that.
So just sounding.
The space in between.
Yeah. And so sounding until you stop, and it doesn't have to be singing as such, but I use my voice because it's with me wherever I go. So I can sit in the car before I go into work, and I can sound and then sit in the presence that's there. It's tangible for me after that, after the sound. So could we try that now?
And you're releasing it, you're letting go. In that sense, it's also, you're the container, aren't you? So, and you're holding an energy, and this voice or this sound is emanating from you and becoming the ripple effect of energy of sound waves. And you have no attachment to where they go.
It's just leaving.
It's just leaving. There's
like
freedom
the leaves.
And I mean, sometimes we can also use that sound where we feel like we want to get a pillow and scream into it and, stamp our feet and punch the pillow and yell and scream. It's not always pretty, and it's not always, light and fluffy. When our world falls apart, did you go out into the woods and yell your heart out, or walk along the beach and scream as if so you couldn't be heard? Did you ever do anything like that?
All of the above. Yes.
And
in my car howling and crying, like messy crying.
Yeah, because when and your mascara's fallen down, if you've managed to even put it on or wash it off from the night or 2 nights before. And so when our world falls apart, it's not pretty. We do get messy.
And those so many times I've let out those wails, I think they are,
Yeah.
Like,
and crying. Yeah.
Like it sounded like that.
And sometimes, you know what? It could be actually a really powerful way to bring release to the central nervous system by crying and wailing and actually going into that. it's almost like the opposite of laughter therapy, which is also just as powerful. So when we imagine our emotions as, you know, and we're actually going into it, like one person laughs and another person laughs and another person laughs, and all of a sudden we've got a whole room full of hysterical. I did that once with meditation, and the stupid looks that I got, everyone thought I was crazy, but in the end they couldn't stop laughing. They started smirking, too embarrassed to laugh. They weren't going to get caught up in it. They were trying to lock it down, but yeah, not me, I'm not going to get caught up in that. And then all of a sudden they're laughing hysterically and to this roar of laughter. But the same could be said for the crying. You know, we could just go, because I think sometimes we lock down our emotions so tight that we don't release them. And so to actually, you know, allow ourselves to cry or to wail.
And to make the unpretty sounds, to allow, give ourselves permission to allow them out. And
because
what you
people
said,
want to fix us, don't they, and stop us and control us. And
also some of those sounds are hard to be with, like those emotions are hard to be with. People don't know what to say or what to do or how to manage that, so they want to shut it down.
That's right.
And make it more it's often about them. It's making it more comfortable for them because they're finding it difficult to be.
You know, one of my worst sayings in the whole world is calm down. I hate that. It's like if anyone says to calm down, and I'm sorry, I just spoke over the top of you, but when you were saying that, it really resonated with me that people are wanting to shut it down and to calm you down because they need to be in control, and that you're stirring up emotion in them, so they're losing control. It's like a red rag to a bull for me. If anyone tells me to calm down, I go, what? I'm ready to go.
So, don't say that to Elizabeth, just say.
No. I think anyone that knows me, don't tell me to calm. But I think it's rude to tell anyone to calm down. I think what we need to do is ask them, what do you need?
What's going on for you?
What does it look like for you? What does it sound like for you? What does it feel like for you? What do you need? What can I do for you? How can I help you? How can I help you help you?
Yes. Yeah. How can
Other than being the rescuer and fixing it.
Absolutely. Yeah. So that making those sounds, one, it's about giving yourself permission to make those sounds. And sometimes it's about finding a place where it's comfortable to do that, where it doesn't impact someone else, that they're not having to hear it and attend to it and control it.
I think that's important. The triggers, we need to keep it in a safe container where, you know, it is in a safe place, so that there's no restriction, that they feel supported, they feel nurtured, they feel held. So we're creating again another safe container, aren't we? And I really love, you know, that term, a safe container.
And also what you spoke, Elizabeth, about the central nervous system, it's really literal with the voice and the vagus nerve. It actually, you know, innervates the face and moves down through the throat. So and through the torso. So when we're sounding with our voice, it actually literally tones. So you're making a tone and it tonifies the vagus nerve. So it vibrates it. It actually helps it to regulate and release and activates the parasympathetic nervous system. So even the long exhale activates that ability to rest,
breath in, to breathe, because we can't keep singing out forever. At some point we run out of breath and we then have to feel back up again. And there's something really powerful about emptying out, though, isn't there?
Oh, that's my favorite thing, is to breathe out. People talk about, just remember to breathe. It's like, just remember to breathe out.
I think that's the thing, because I think when people are stressed and with anxiety and panic attacks, did you notice that when you were going through that, you breathe more shallowly, your shoulders get higher and higher. We don't realize that our shoulders are getting so high until we tighten them, bring them up to our ears, breathe and let them go. And you think, why didn't I think of that before? You know, remember to breathe.
Just remember to breathe, and
breathe out, and then breathe all the way into the bottom of your lungs, not breathing into the shallow, higher heart area, to really breathe down into your belly.
And so,
Swimmers are good at that too. They need to have that, constant repetition of breath, don't they?
true. And I learnt it actually from a client who's a scuba diver and was having a situation where they felt that they just couldn't get any breath in, and they were panicking because you're underwater and that your only lifeline is the regulator, the scuba tank of air. And they're like, and the instructor reminded them there was a signal they used, I can't remember what it was, to breathe out. And that was actually the problem. They couldn't get any more breath in because they were actually full of air. They'd done all of the breathing in, and so actually needed to, blow out the bubbles. And
is that good? Is that why those bubble blowing things are good for kids, to blow? Because it's releasing attention for little kids, and as adults, we need to do it ourselves, don't we?
Yes. Yeah. So I often do that with clients and for myself because it's fun.
You need to go buy bubble blowers.
Blow bubbles. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I think everywhere we go, we need to take our bubble blower in our bag so that we've got it. Yeah.
And because the extension of the exhale is, like you said, it's literal. The minute you exhale, your shoulders remember where they're meant to live.
Yeah.
And it activates the parasympathetic nervous system. So it puts the brakes on all of those stresses and thoughts and processes that are going on, and just, oh, that's right. I remember who I am now. This is what a body's supposed to feel like. And this is what I feel like inside this body, because I'm not this body. I'm something more than that.
That's beautiful. I really love the way you just said that. Can you turn that into a song or make it up? Just do it. Just close your eyes and sing it through. It was just beautiful, the energy you held then. I'm something more than that. I am more than me.
A body I am, a body I have, but there's so much more than that. I am.
I love that. That was so beautiful. Absolutely so beautiful. I feel privileged and honored. I got goosebumps. Your voice is like an angel. And I think, how can people contact you, Ganga? I know you're in the process of questioning your name and who am I? I am more than I am. And so today may start to bring towards you your authentic self, your soul self. And it'd be beautiful to reconnect with you when you go to the next stage, which will probably be very soon, to allow people to ask questions or to be able to join any of your workshops. I know you were doing some beautiful workshops a few years ago before we were all in lockdown. Are you planning on doing any more retreats or workshops in the near future?
I don't have any plans. At the moment, I'm working one-on-one with people.
Okay. And how can people contact you?
If that re-emerges. So either through my website, which is singingtheself.com, my email, which is associated with that, which is ganga@singingtheself.com. And, I'm always open to messages on Facebook and Insta. So my socials are...
And we'll put the links of your socials and your website and your contact phone number. We'll put all of that on the bottom of this so people can ask questions of you, so that if this has stirred something up in people watching, would you be open to a little bit of a question and answer little chat in the future?
Absolutely.
If we get a whole stream rather than you replying back one-on-one, you might like to, share it with another chat. That might be a nice way of doing it.
Absolutely.
I think we will we will learn how to find our way forward, I think, through this.
Yes.
I think the most important thing is that we've both brought up here today is to create a safe container. And I think that's a safe container for us as well as for each of our clients, isn't it?
Essential. Yeah,
absolutely. I'm totally honored. Thank you so much for your time today. And I know we will get you back in the near future. And I wish you every happiness. And I can't wait to find out what you're choosing to call yourself, how you will identify with yourself, your new self.
my new self. Yes.
Yeah, when our world falls apart, it's actually not falling apart, it's falling together. And how you slayed the dragon has been a beautiful process of a gentle change, but it really did get messy for you at times.
Yes.
And I value your vulnerability in sharing some of those stories with us. I know they came from the heart, and that's always hard to come from that place.
My privilege. Thank you so much.
But our
for
journey
allowing
never
me to
stops
share.
there, does it? Have you found that people don't recognize you now that you've found who you are now becoming? Do people not recognize you or say, wow, Gunga, you've changed?
Yeah, I even look different. Yes.
What do you respond to with that?
Thank you.
I love that.
It acknowledges
What
the
else can you
journey.
say?
Yeah.
You've changed. It's a shame you haven't. I shouldn't say things like that, should I? Thank you. It's always nice to say thank you. I love the word thank you.
Lovely to speak with you.
You too. Thank you, darling. Thank you. Right. Cheers. Bye for now.
Bye.